and the SEC figures out it's a scam, and they find evidence of criminal wrongdoing, so they prosecute Hoffenberg. Jeffrey Epstein was involved in illegal operations at Towers, and that should have resulted in a criminal prosecution of Epstein. But by the time the case gets transferred to the Southern District of New York, Epstein's name entirely vanishes from the prosecution, and nobody can really explain why.
Had broken homes, someone who didn't even know where their next meals were coming from. A predator hunts for the weakest.
Manipulation has been Epstein's hallmark since the early stages of his career.
It's the 1970s. He is still living in New York. Dalton is a private school on the Upper East Side that caters to very wealthy families in New York. William Barr's father, Donald Barr, was the headmaster who likely hired Epstein in the spring of '74.
He gets a job at this elite private school teaching math and physics, and Epstein doesn't even have a college degree. How weird is that?
Wall Street decided a case. Boss, he infiltrated the company's accounting department, befriended them, and stole about $17 million of Towers' financial money. And that was all documented. They did make me financially responsible for $475 million. And they sentenced me to 20 years. They gave me Jeffrey Epstein's sentence. The unequal justice is so crazy.
So once again, he avoids criminal liability, and people are wondering, how on earth does this guy manipulate himself out of every single moment of trouble?
Doesn't make any sense at all. None of the alleged victims are present, and if he's still under a federal investigation, then what on earth is he doing in a state courthouse?
Despite the massive amount of evidence of sex trafficking, Epstein is somehow given a remarkable deal.
The U.S. Attorney's Office and Epstein's lawyers enter into a sweetheart deal, which is called a non-prosecution agreement.
He agrees to one count of felony prostitution and one count of soliciting minor.
There's no such thing as a child prostitute. If you're 14, you are not a prostitute. You are a child. You don't understand the consequences of what you're doing. It's ridiculous calling them prostitutes. They're a victim of sex trafficking.
On June 30th, 2008, Epstein agrees to an 18-month sentence after you...
They're a victim of sex trafficking.
On June 30th, 2008, Epstein agrees to an 18-month sentence after U.S. Attorney Acosta agrees to drop all federal charges of sex trafficking. Epstein is somehow given a remarkable deal.
The U.S. Attorney's Office and Epstein's lawyers enter into a sweetheart deal, which is called a non-prosecution agreement.
He agrees to one count of felony prostitution and one count of soliciting minor.
There's no such thing as a child prostitute. If you're 14, you are not a prostitute. You are a child. You don't understand the consequences of what you're doing. It's ridiculous calling them prostitutes. They're a victim of sex trafficking.
On June 30th, 2008, Epstein agrees to an 18-month sentence after you...
The only reason that Epstein got the deal he got was because of his money, his power, and his influence. You take any other person off the street, and they're accused of molestation or sexual abuse of one girl. They end up behind bars for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. In 25 years, I've never seen a non-prosecution agreement that broad. The only thing we could rationalize in our mind was that maybe the U.S. government was getting something out of this deal. Maybe he was an informant.
It was in the early 1990s that Jeffrey Epstein meets Ghislaine Maxwell, and she is his ticket to high society.
Ghislaine Maxwell, she was a socialite. She was very well known, followed by the British tabloids, and she is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who was a press baron in the United Kingdom. He owned the Daily Mirror, group of newspapers.
Jeffrey Epstein's a billionaire pedophile. So he said, I'm just tired of reading stories that start this way. And I looked up the chandelier, and it was a blow-up doll, a sex doll. Okay. It was getting weirder and weirder, but even I was sucked in. It was fascinating. So I went, well, Jeffrey, you gotta go to Bill Gates and Melinda immediately and pledge your entire fortune. You need to give $1.5 billion immediately, outright, not after your death. Give it right now. Then I said you had to go into professional rehab for 1 year. He looked at me like, 1 year? I said, 1 year. One of the sex clinics where you could get real.
Also states in legal filings that she's had sexual encounters with other associates of Jeffrey Epstein's. One of the most notable, Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz denied the allegations too, and because of that, Virginia Roberts sued him for defamation. And in a totally bizarre turn, he sued her right back.
Did you ever see Mr. Epstein with underage girls?
No. Oh, no. If I had ever seen Jeffrey Epstein in any inappropriate situation with an underage girl, I would have terminated my relationship and turned him in. No way.
Jeffrey Epstein's a billionaire pedophile. So he said, I'm just tired of reading stories that start this way. And I looked up the chandelier, and it was a blow-up doll, a sex doll. Okay. It was getting weirder and weirder, but even I was sucked in. It was fascinating. So I went, well, Jeffrey, you gotta go to Bill Gates and Melinda immediately and pledge your entire fortune. You need to give $1.5 billion immediately, outright, not after your death. Give it right now. Then I said you had to go into professional rehab for 1 year. He looked at me like, 1 year? I said, 1 year. One of the sex clinics where you could get real help.
Dr. Michael Baden goes public with his own conclusion.
Well, I was asked by the brother, the next of kin, to be at the autopsy. And at the autopsy on day one, there were findings that were unusual for suicidal hanging.
Several aspects of Epstein's death are troubling to the renowned pathologist, beginning with what was found inside Epstein's prison cell.
According to Virginia Roberts, she was paid $15,000 to service Prince Andrew. And she services Prince Andrew 3 times in 3 different cities, New York, London, and then the United States Virgin Islands.
Prince Andrew takes to the airwaves in an effort to clear his name.
I didn't have much time with him. I suppose I saw him once or twice a year, perhaps maybe maximum 3 times a year. But it would be a considerable stretch to say that he was a very, very close friend. I can tell you categorically, I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken. And I've said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatever. I can tell you categorically, I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken. And I've said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatever.
For the royal family to do. How on earth did this man, who had been out socialising with a convicted paedophile, then go and represent the country?
After Epstein's death at the MCC, it has been reported that the FBI approached the prince. They wanted to interview him, and he publicly agreed to cooperate.
However, to date, the prince has not interviewed with the FBI.
Individuals to work multiple shifts in a row. Now, Mr. Thomas faces up to 5 years in jail. This is very rare that a guard would be charged with a criminal offense in this situation. It's my position that the guards in this case are being scapegoated.
I am outraged that the only 2 people who may go to jail in the entire Epstein affair are 2 African-American prison guards that were at MCC the night that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
Get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability.
But even Attorney General Barr has a bizarre connection to this case. Remember, his father was the headmaster of the Dalton School, that elite school in Manhattan where Jeffrey Epstein, got a job as a teacher.
What's important about this story is the lawyers and the prosecutors and the U.S. attorney who let him off the hook. You can't have this in a society. And Acosta and Christian, they should be held responsible for what they did.